This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is the Wednesday before the Thursday night Armageddon in Cleveland.
Yep. Hopefully next time we convene, the Steelers will be 9-2 because we won't be here tomorrow. That would be unbelievable.
Yes, we will be back on Friday.
That intro music, by the way. Was that a new tune there, Justin?
No, we've had that one before.
All right.
Yeah, you got to listen to these things.
Yeah,
you're like
I'm gearing up. I'm in the zone before we hit play, man.
You're hearing Jimmy, but you're not listening to Jimmy.
I don't. The intro music. I'm ready on the battle ahead, not to walk up to the ring.
I like it when I drop these random movie references into the.
I didn't know that
show.
one.
That's White Men Can't Jump.
I've seen it, but it's been 100 million years. It's a good movie.
Man.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I can't quote it though.
So every once in a while, I'll drop a reference like that. I threw one in there the other day from The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
It went right over your head. But one of our listeners caught it.
I know. That one I'm actually ashamed that I've never seen Princess Bride, which is, I should never admit that because
come on.
I know all the lore and I've had this conversation with 100 people, but I've still never seen
They
it.
wrote a part specifically for Andre the Giant.
I know all about it, right. And Jenny's in it, too.
There you go.
I hear this guy here. It's good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's get the task at hand here. Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Steelers, Browns, injury report.
Okay.
For the Steelers.
It's sort of a farce.
A little bit, but
but okay.
They're not activating Corey Trice.
No reason to.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So he will continue to be on.
Windows open now.
Yeah. And they still have another week to make a decision on that. And we already knew Alex Highsmith was out.
Yeah. So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Good.
Those are it.
You'll take that all day long on a short week after a Ravens game.
Yeah.
And giddy up.
On the Browns side of things.
Not as rosy from what I understand.
So they had another estimated practice today. They did not conduct practice on Wednesday. The Steelers did a walkthrough before they head to Cleveland.
Coach me up on that, though. An estimated practice. So no one walked out on a field today.
Apparently not.
Okay.
That's what I'm taking this as because I
assume they had meetings and were football players today, but why not at least do something out on a field?
I don't know.
Okay.
So in their estimation, Joel Bitonio, who was limited on Monday's estimated practice and Tuesday's real practice, was a full participant today. Go figure.
That sounds great. Okay.
Jordan Hicks, Maurice Hurst, Jerry Jeudy, all full participants today. They were all
They're basically telling us all those guys are going to play.
Yeah.
That we've just mentioned.
Myles Garrett listed as limited today but has no injury designation.
Fine. I mean, this is like
he didn't practice yesterday,
code.
the only day that they actually practiced.
Right.
With the hip issue.
And he didn't do a thing then.
Didn't do a thing and was listed as a limited participant today.
But not
when they
because
didn't
of a
do
hip.
it, when nobody did a thing.
But not because of a hip.
Yeah. Has no injury designation.
I assume he's playing.
Elijah Moore, limited on Monday and Tuesday. Monday, again, the estimated practice, listed as a full participant today. David Njoku, same thing, limited, full participant in the estimated practice. Greg Newsome, limited, full participant in today's estimated practice with the shoulder injury. Jeff Swaim, he has a concussion. He is not playing. Could have called that one.
Yeah, but sort of interesting, though. I mean, I know that they want Njoku and those three receivers on the field and a back all the time. Like, they eat up all the snaps. But Swaim might have been your chipper. I mean, he might have been a little bit of a help guy.
Yeah, for sure. And then Denzel Ward, limited, full participant today in the estimated practice.
Healthier than I thought.
Jedrick Wills did not practice on Monday's estimated practice. Limited yesterday, limited today. He's been declared out. They might just be done with him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's more going on there, and he's not going to be back.
He said he made a business decision earlier in the year when he didn't play in a game. And
I think he was too banged up to trade at the trade deadline, or who knows how banged up he is, but he's not playing.
So that leaves them with...
what's the offensive tackle situation?
They have Conklin, who's their starting right tackle.
Mm-hmm. And he's battled injuries throughout the year and isn't quite himself either.
Yeah. And Jermaine Ifedi.
Okay.
Is the only other tackle on the active roster. Now they can obviously.
I'm sure they'll boost somebody or two. but Conklin's going to need a lot of help.
Yes.
And I don't know how he's going to get it.
Nor do I, because you're going to have to help the left tackle.
He's a bad player. I mean, he's been in the league a long time. He's had a
former first-round pick?
That's what I was going to say. A&M?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the league 10 years at least. But he's not quite a guard. He's not quite a tackle. He's been a swing guy.
Forever.
He's been on 800 teams.
Yeah.
But he's still in the league, and he's made millions of dollars, so he's had a good career. But you're pretty excited to play against him.
Yeah, you're not upset.
No.
I'm just looking here at their roster overall on their website to see what they have.
I mean, they have practice squad tackles.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see what they have on the practice squad. At offensive
I'm curious who their
tackle,
guards are, too. Could any of them be a bump-out candidate?
they've got Jerron Christian as well, apparently, that they've added to their.
That's not the BYU Christian. That's Jake Christian.
No, he's from Louisville.
Okay, I don't know.
7th year in the league. I vaguely recall the name. Let's put it that way. I don't.
That's about the best description I could give to him.
Yeah. I'm just looking at his career numbers here. He has started a career.
He's a practice squatter.
No, he's on the active roster. He started 25 games in his career over 7 years.
Okay. Well, I hope he starts 26.
I would imagine it's going to be Ifede.
That seems like the best option I've heard yet. I mean, he seems more of a right and a guard.
I'm not even seeing. I think they must list him as a guard because he's not listed under the tackles.
He's probably
he's listed as a guard. So maybe it will be. They also have Michael Dunn has played some tackle.
Yeah, he definitely has.
Yeah, so it might be
I think
him.
all right, but
yeah,
fine.
So I mean, they have a bunch of right tackles.
Yeah,
but nobody who's a true left.
No, and I mean that might be the biggest. Well, there's a lot. Might be the biggest Steeler advantage.
Yeah,
I mean that tackle group is suspect on a good day.
On the practice squad, they have Hakeem Adenji, the kid out of Kansas. He's not a kid anymore. He's 5 years in the league. Again, just another dude.
Mm-hmm.
And James Hudson. Oh, no, that's never mind.
I think
that's
he's
IR.
Reserve,
that's
right?
That's IR. I was looking at the wrong.
He would be the left tackle. Not that he's great either, but he was
on the practice squad, they have Roy Mbiketa. He is a first-year player who has no college listed next to his name.
Strange.
Yeah. He's 6'8", 330 pounds. Doesn't sound like a left tackle. Sounds more like a right.
He's not a guard.
Yeah. And that is the only one that they have.
Okay.
So they're a little thin at tackle.
They're brutal at tackle.
Yeah.
And again,
Jameis likes to throw the ball down the field.
You're right. I mean, I think you have to change the way you pass the football if you're the Browns, which doesn't suit Winston's strength.
At all.
Or what's their tight end depth chart if you're still
I just closed it up. I have it here though, from last week. So
I
you
know like who
you got Njoku, Jordan Akins, and Jeff Swaim. Swaim's the blocker.
I was going to say Akins is like 230 pounds.
Yeah, he's a pass catcher.
Who's the helper? Who's the chipper? I mean, Ford, Chubb, maybe, but
and they don't have a fullback on their roster.
No, I know. I mean, like who's in line help for tackles that aren't good?
Yeah,
I'm not seeing any answers at all.
No,
and this is the worst team in the league to have that problem with if you're the Browns.
Yeah, doesn't look pretty.
So Steelers play the Browns this week, play the Bengals in 10 days after that.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get like a dozen sacks in those games. I think they're going to rush the passer.
Right. Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think they're going to rush the passer in a different manner than they have. It's not a rush, contain, keep him in there.
You can actually get after, especially Jameis. You can get after him.
I think it's just like put a rocket booster on your back and go. You know, if you happen to go too far up the field, come back and get him. You know, whatever. If he runs for a couple yards, go get him. I think they're going to have 1 million sacks these 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's, the sack numbers are down overall for the Steelers this year. We could see a 10-sack game coming in one of these 2 games against the Browns and or Bengals, or the second matchup against the Browns and or Bengals.
And they've blitzed a lot the last 2 weeks, particularly on early downs. I don't know if you have to.
I don't know that I would
play it just straight up. Everyone knows their assignment.
Stay in coverage. Right. Don't give up the big play because that's what they want to do.
A lot of cover 3 stuff you saw early in the season. Rush 4. I just don't see a great answer because their weapons are okay. They could get behind you if you get aggressive with blitzes. You know? And if Jameis is going to hold the ball for long developing stuff, best of luck.
And he, as you said, is aggressive. He's
aggressive.
It just he reminds me of Vinny Testaverde. Yeah, he's going to make some plays, but he's going to make some plays for both teams.
You're not the U anymore, former first overall pick that had a ton of ability, but was on a stacked team and didn't have only learned to play one way.
Yeah, and remember, Jameis was the closer on the Florida State baseball team.
Yeah.
He pitched for them.
I love that about him coming out.
He has that closer's mentality.
Big time, yeah.
He's just going to wind up and throw it as hard as he can.
No, Rob Dibble, bring him out of the pen, wild thing. Let's go. And his teammates love him. And I heard an interview with Bucky Brooks, he's real big in Big 33. He's like, he was one of my absolute favorite Big 33 17-year-olds and all that stuff. But he doesn't move real well, and he hasn't really adapted his game.
No, I mean, he's better than he used to be to a degree, but he'll still put the ball in harm's way.
Mm-hmm. I remember the offseason when the Steelers signed Trubisky. It was Mariota, Trubisky, and Winston were all up. And Winston was the one I wanted most. And
he was the one I didn't want because of that reason.
I know.
Knowing how Mike Tomlin wanted to play.
Right.
Like, that was not going to mesh.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we've seen Darnold and some of these other guys revive their career. I've always kind of kept the candle lit that Winston could be next. I don't really think he is anymore. I wanted him to be a success. He seems like an easy guy to root for, and I liked him coming out. But I think he's always going to be a high-end number 2.
Yeah.
That can beat you if he's hot.
Right.
But 4 weeks in a row gets bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he might be a little Fitzmagic there.
Yeah, exactly. I think Minshew's that guy.
They come in and they're like, "Oh, everybody's like, look at that beard, that's great. Look at Jameis out there, he's out there eating W's and all that stuff. That's all well and good."
Or if he comes in off the bench and no one prepped for him all week, that's great. He lights a fire under you. That's wonderful, but that's just a spark plug.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to live with day in and day out. That
could he be in their mix next year?
I don't know that they can afford to go.
I mean, they'll have money.
They'll have a first-round draft pick.
I know. I would assume you just draft one, and that poor kid's in trouble. I would hate to be that dude.
But you're still going to have. I mean, I don't think that they can move on.
You don't think they take like the Russell Wilson times 100 cap hit Watson move? I know some people have laid it out.
Rough to do.
Oh, it's unbelievably rough. Or you just set him down.
I mean, you could do that too, and I mean, he's already sat out 1 year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine being the opening day starter next year.
Yeah. No, I can't either, but I don't know that they can afford to just cut him loose and take that whole cap hit.
Oh, it would be crippling. It would be unbelievably bad, and it's for years.
Yeah.
I don't think next year is even that terrible, but the year after is like $80 million cap hit or something, or 100 or something.
I can look here. We've talked enough about them over the course of
it's ungodly. I mean, I'll be honest. I think Sando put out an article a couple weeks ago.
Because, I mean, they've done this to themselves, or they kept kicking the can down the road.
They've made it worse.
Yeah, they made it worse.
Right.
His cap hit next year goes to $72.9 million.
It's guaranteed.
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it's $72.9 million in 2026, and they have
I know there's a kicker at the end.
$26.9 million in dead money in 2027 for a guy that can't play.
The guy that can't play. Yeah. I mean, I think it's if you flat out cut him, I thought it was like $100 million cap hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even if you do it after June 1st, all you're doing is kicking that can into the following year.
Exactly.
So
it still might be the move.
It might be, but
I mean, the other move is I think the Patriots have the most cap space in the league. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're close. You call them up and say, take Watson in our first pick. And they might still say no.
It's going to be a top 10 pick, though. You're not going to. They can't afford to trade a top 10 pick.
The Patriots still might say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is $100 million cap space worth more than the 5th pick in the draft? Probably.
It's hard to sell the owner on that when he's got to write the check,
And then if you do trade for Watson, you just say,
stay away.
Don't ever come to our facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're never wearing our colors. You'll get a paycheck every week, but that's it.
The Browns did that.
The Osweiler move, yeah.
With Osweiler.
It was a 2nd-round pick.
But who are we talking about doing that? We're talking about the Browns doing that. Has any other team ever done that?
No.
No,
that's a NBA move from what I understand.
The Browns did it.
Yeah.
So when people throw that out there.
And Osweiler wasn't even a bad guy.
No.
I mean, he wasn't a problem. He just was
Wasn't good.
And it wasn't worth the money.
Yeah.
He signed a bad contract that was guaranteed. That's all that was.
He didn't sign a bad. He signed a good
Oh,
contract.
good. He signed a great contract. Yeah. His agent ended quite well. Yeah. The Texans signed a bad contract. Yeah.
Amazing. Those two teams married with this one, too.
Yeah. Making similar decisions here. That is maybe not an accident. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. So, looking at this, the Steelers are they're in better shape right now, health-wise.
Yes. Desire.
They're the
mental
better,
health.
They're the better
physical
team.
Physical health. Yes.
They're in a better spot.
Yep.
The only thing that favors Cleveland is the game is in Cleveland.
Yeah. I'm Thursday short week is the only thing I keep coming back to on the road, of course. And you've struggled there a little bit lately, and it is a division game, and I'm sure there's still some proud Browns that are saying every eye in America is going to be on this. I need to play my best.
See, you've struggled there, we say, lately. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When the Browns were good.
Oh, right.
They were at least competitive. The Browns have not been real competitive this year.
No. I mean, the fact that Ben was the winningest quarterback in that building until Baker was well into his third year or whatever is one of the most insane things I've ever heard.
I mean, even last year, they still had a really good – they were a playoff team last year, and they still had a really good defense.
Yeah, yeah.
Year before that, they weren't great, but they were still a competitive team.
They weren't a joke.
Yeah.
They weren't one of the bottom feeders.
Now they're a bottom feeder.
Now they're a bottom feeder, yeah. I mean, they should demolish them on
paper.
paper.
On paper. If this were being played on a Sunday, I would say absolutely take the Steelers.
Yeah.
Lay whatever points you got to lay. The Steelers are the better team.
I mean, part of me, just as an analyst doing what we do for a living, is happy this is a short week because there's not many matchups to talk about all week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Some of that.
I'm not sure I had 10 hours of content to talk about Steelers-Browns going into this one because there's nothing that favors the Browns.
I will say this. The weather is supposed to...
Could be an equalizer.
I don't think it's an equalizer.
I'm thinking...
Because one team can't run the football and the other one can.
Why I thought that, though, is maybe it slows down the first step pass rush.
I'm not worried about that, though, because if it's snowing up there and the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour, all they want to do is chuck the ball deep.
Yeah.
And they can't run the football.
Right.
Chubb is done.
You don't have to argue with him. I get that part.
I mean, he might be better next year, and I hope that he is. He was one of the best running backs in the league, but watching him on tape now is painful.
I just wonder what the surface is like. Snow's not always bad, but if it's soft, I'm talking about pass rush.
I'm talking about the wind.
Yeah.
The wind up there
But the wind doesn't favor Russ either. I mean, moonballs in the wind aren't a
But
great
the
thing.
team that runs the football,
no doubt.
Russell Wilson, Arthur Smith will adjust the game plan accordingly. This will not be a situation if the wind is blowing 45 mile an hour up there like it was the one year, and you go up there and try to throw the ball 40 times with Ben Roethlisberger and lose to Brady Quinn because the Browns ran the football.
Tom and I were talking about this on the Advanced Scout last night. Like, this game, folks, don't care one bit about style points. If they win 2-0,
right,
great.
Just win it.
It's a business trip. Get up there every time you can. And he threw that out there, and I'm like, the weather could make it uglier. You could run every down.
Yeah, this could be one of those kind of games, and the Steelers are built to do that.
Yeah,
I don't think the Browns are.
Yeah, I said the same thing last night. I was like, hand it off 3 times in a row and punt, 6 drives in a row.
That's a win.
And
you have the better defense.
Yep, and by the fourth quarter, it won't be 3 and outs.
Which defense do you think forces more fumbles? Which defense do you think gets
holds up better late or wants to be in the game at the 50-minute mark?
Penetrates and
right.
gets tackles for losses and things of that nature. It's the Steelers.
Yeah,
against that offensive line, they'll dominate them.
Yeah, I mean, right. If that's the game plan for both teams, the Browns won't move the ball at all.
They might not have 100 yards in this game if that's what the weather turns into. So I just think that favors the Steelers in a big way. If the weather gets nasty, and to your point, usually it does help the team that isn't as talented.
Yeah. It could be an equalizer.
But in this instance,
I'm sure Tomlin will just hand it off. Right.
Yeah.
Do it.
You didn't have to tell Arthur Smith to do that.
I might do that if it's a perfect day.
Yeah. Let's get in here. Let's shorten this game. Get the hell out of here with the win and go home and
get
rest
big
for the weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
And push them around.
Because we're built for it.
Because I don't think the Browns are going to be super interested in tackling or dealing with Darnell Washington and Najee Harris.
Michael Pruitt is back for this game. That's
I'm talking about late in the game when it matters most.
But I think you're going to see
body blow
a lot of 12 and 13 personnel and just pound the ball down. And maybe the extra linemen's out there, just pound the ball down their throat.
Yep. People were asking me, do you think this is the game Mike Williams really takes over as a number 2? I'm like, I don't know that you're going to see even 2 receivers on the field all that often. I mean, it could be a back, Pickens, and 3 tight ends a lot.
Yeah. A lot.
I mean, do it.
And passes to the backs and things of that nature when you do actually throw the football, some screens and things like that.
Washington on Garrett's side and go from there.
Yeah. Deal with. So how about this one yesterday? Russell Wilson was talking about Darnell Washington.
Mm-hmm. He's quickly becoming my favorite player, by the way.
He said he weighs 305 pounds.
I 100% believe it. I say he is I meant to say this last week. He's as unique as Patrick Ricard.
Yeah.
But
maybe more so
because he's 6'8".
And he
can catch passes.
Yeah, he actually can run better than Ricard. Ricard runs for a guy that size.
For a guard, he runs really well. Yeah, but
this is a tight end who still can move well enough. He's not the.
I'd rather have Washington on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
He might score 3 fantasy points or catch a touchdown. Ricard won't.
Ricard's not going to do that. Yeah.
Right.
But he's not the pass catcher. I think that people envision him.
When they drafted him,
because of look at the measurables and all that stuff. Yeah. But he's a hell of a guy that size. He's a ridiculous athlete.
He's a ridiculous athlete, and frankly, I'm not so sure if he dedicated himself full time to being a tackle, he couldn't be a tackle.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the things he did to Oweh in that game, threw him out of the bar. Took him and threw him away.
Yeah.
Things you don't see in the NFL field very often.
No,
if he's 305, he's 60 pounds heavier than Oweh.
Yeah. He's a big dude.
Yeah. He should bang with Garrett.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller hotline by the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, Bob Labriola. Bob, how you doing today? Are we living in our fears on a short work week?
I'll tell you what, I'm not living in nearly the degree of fears or doom as anyone who might be getting in a car anytime soon and driving to Northeast Ohio. Is there anybody that I'm talking to that might be doing that?
You might be talking to somebody that's doing just that, but it's not something I haven't done before because I think every time the Steelers play up there, the weather has to be ridiculous. It's like
yes. Yes.
I think people who actually live in Cleveland know when the first snow is coming based on when the first game against the Steelers happens to be.
Wait till the NFL schedule comes out, and
And even there were a lot of years when the Steelers would open there, open the season.
Oh yeah,
it was miserable, but it didn't snow then. But that doesn't mean it wasn't miserable.
Yeah, I can remember being up there in September one year, walking to the stadium. And the wind's blowing like 60 mile an hour in my face. I'm like, it's like 70 degrees out, but there's like this 60 mile an hour wind. It's just never nice there.
No, I don't think Mother Nature likes Cleveland either. I think Mother Nature, regularly takes the visiting team and, gives the points.
Could very well be the case. I've been to Sandusky and things like that. It's beautiful there.
Yeah. Just right on the lake there.
You go to Cleveland, the wind is insane. 40 miles to the east or however far it is, and it's just like, how did this happen?
There were a lot of mornings where I walked out of my apartment and didn't know what car was mine. It was just so much snow on all of them. It's like, I think I parked here, and you uncover one that wasn't mine.
Somebody comes out and says, hey, thanks.
Yeah,
that would be brutal.
That's the worst. You're not sure. You're down to 2 or 3.
Car.
You're right.
Yeah,
it wasn't even mine. Crap.
So, Bob, the Steelers get a big win on Sunday over the Baltimore Ravens. They now have a 2-game lead in the division in the loss column, which is what really matters. Essentially a 3-game lead, or at least 2.5 game, because the Ravens have 2 division losses. But I will mention this: that other division loss for the Ravens came against Cleveland in Cleveland.
Yeah, the Browns still, they're not. As Juju Smith-Schuster once famously said, the Browns is the Browns. But every now and then, they will rise up and bite somebody in the butt if you're not, paying attention. And so, yeah, I mean, but what I think is the situation is this. Jameis Winston is now the Browns quarterback. And if you look at his history as a professional, okay, he was a number 1 overall pick in 2015. He was an immediate day 1 starter, Tampa Bay. And during his 5 years there, Jameis Winston, over the course of his career at different times, he's led the NFL in attempts, yards, and interceptions. Okay. And he also averaged at least 19 touchdown passes per game. So Jameis Winston is this. If, he's a gunslinger. And if you give him time and don't catch the balls he's going to throw to you, because he does do that, as his history indicates, he'll beat you. And when he beat the Browns, Kyle Hamilton dropped an interception that ends that game.
Right.
And you catch that and the game's over. He didn't. And a couple of plays later, maybe it was the next play, I don't remember.
I think it might have been the next play.
He threw a touchdown pass, and I don't know who caught that either.
I think it was Tillman.
Toomer or Amani.
Cedric Tillman.
What was it? Oh, okay, Cedric Tillman. Okay, so if you give him time, and don't take advantage to the opportunities he's going to give you, and you don't sack him, then he could throw for 335 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you lose, as the Ravens did. Or if you do pressure him and catch the balls that he throws to you, like the Chargers did the next week, I think it was, you sack him 6 times and intercept him 3 times, and you win easy. So to me, it's going to be taking advantage, the defense, Steelers defense, taking advantage of their opportunities, because they're going to come. And the other thing I think is a significant factor, you can say, look at the Browns and they've lost 7 of 8 and they're 2-8 on the season and all that. They have problems. Well, in particular, they have an offensive tackle problem for tomorrow.
Major offensive tackle problem.
And Winston will hold the ball. Yeah, Winston will hold the ball. Right.
Exactly. DeJuan Jones is out for the season. Jedrick Willis, who was replacing him at left tackle, has been ruled out of the game. Today's status report is out, and they list Jedrick Willis as out. So you got Jack Conklin and some guy that they signed off the Rams practice squad that used to be on their roster. That's what they're going with.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like about this from the Steelers standpoint is, Myles Garrett's doing a little talking about his Defensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I don't know why you're poking the bear.
Yeah, why?
Right.
Right.
And that guy, too.
Yeah.
T.J. Watt, poke that bear. I mean, that's how stupid is that? I mean,
I'm sure Jameis is like, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Or whoever's going to end up blocking.
Or not
TJ,
blocking, as it were.
Yeah, because if they're going to keep Conklin on the right side, then that would be him. That would be his problem. If they move him around, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea how the Browns are going to deploy their tackles. And so, again, this is one of those games where, for me, the Steelers just have to resist helping the Browns at all. Catch the ball when Jameis throws it to you, because as I think it was Matt who said, he's going to hold on to it. I mean, he's not a check down guy. He's never been that.
He drives the ball down the field.
Right. And their running game, Nick Chubb is not Nick Chubb yet. Jerome Ford is okay. But again, play sound, run defense, catch the ball when he throws it to you, and treat their offensive tackles like the turnstiles that they are. Don't turn it over and get on the buses to come back to Pittsburgh with a win, because it really nothing else matters in this game except that.
Yeah,
Get
this
the
can't turn
W.
into one of those games where the Steelers go in. There's maybe some snow in the forecast. It's going to be windy, and you go out there and try to throw the ball 40 times. We've seen that before up there, and it didn't work so well. Run the football.
Punts aren't a bad thing in this game.
Well, you know what they say, Matt. You know, it's not every. If you make every possession end with a kick, you'll win.
Yep. I think that's an
Everyone
epitome of this game.
Position.
This is a business trip.
Yes.
If they win 2-0,
Yes.
I don't care. You know, I mean,
Right, exactly.
How about this, Labs? The team, the Browns this season have broken 100 rushing yards 3 times. None of those have come at home. They haven't run for 100 yards in a home game this season. They can't run the football with all the money that they're spending on offensive lineman and running backs and things of that nature. You want to turn this into a rock fight because they don't have any rocks.
No any rocks, yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're not really interested in playing that way either.
No.
So I'm just, my concerns, quote unquote concerns for tomorrow night are, the physical condition of the Steelers players, because when you played the Ravens, 60 minutes, thank God it didn't go overtime, because 60 minutes against the Ravens is enough. That's physically draining. I'm sure there's a lot of sore people, and traditionally you're that way anyway for a Thursday night game, but coming off a Ravens game and then playing on a Thursday night, I think pushes that to the outer limit of being able to handle it, and don't turn it over. Don't get adventurous with the football. Punting is okay, and just get through it.
Yeah, Labs. When the schedule came out, I thought, what a nasty draw that is. Ravens, and then you got to go to the Browns. But that's when I thought the Browns might be acceptable. And then I dig in this week, as we've been talking here these last couple of minutes. There's just not many avenues where the Browns can win on paper. You know what I mean? Yeah, Myles Garrett's going to cause problems. Winston might get hot and throw for over 300 yards possibly if the weather allows it. But, I mean, I'm stretching here,
Yeah, and again, the Steelers have to understand that the on-paper things, aren't necessarily going to hold true to form because, there is, it's not Steelers-Ravens, but Steelers-Browns, there's not a lot of love lost there either.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, they should have beaten Dallas. Yeah. On paper, they should have beaten the Colts.
And it's a standalone game, and those Browns guys are proud and know everyone's watching too.
Right. And again, I'm not predicting it's going to be easy or necessarily smooth or, smooth sailing. Certainly not on the shores of Lake Erie on a night like tomorrow. But, it should be doable. And that whole, Matt, you were talking about the draw when the schedule came out. That to me was why it would have been competitively unfair to move that Ravens game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't make a team play a night game and then go on the road on Thursday. Yeah. That to me is just unfair. So it didn't happen. It shouldn't have happened, and it didn't. And then they get a little bit of a mini bye before getting back into the, division play against the Bengals. So, get through this game, and then I think get a little bit of time off to heal. Rest maybe is a better word than heal. And you should get Alex Highsmith back. Again, I'm not projecting this is going to be easy by any means, but I like where this Steelers team is right now, and I think that what they're showing in these games is that they are capable of navigating this schedule that at one point seemed just ridiculously difficult.
Bob, did what the Saints did last week with Taysom Hill, did that pique your interest a little bit against this Browns team, maybe using Justin Fields a little bit more on the short week?
Well, that's what maybe if you need it. But again, turn around and hand it to Najee. It should be good enough.
Yeah, it's not a bad option.
Right. And just keep it simple. Jaylen Warren has not been on the injury report at all. Run the ball. Throw it to Freiermuth, whatever. Keep it. Keep it simple. Keep it away from their playmakers in the secondary. However they deploy Delpit and Denzel Ward. As I said, you don't want to play like I would call the game, the Lord of living in his fears. But I also, there is something to be said for the way that Arthur Smith instructed Justin Fields in that Atlanta game. Do not go over the middle of the field. That's the heart of their defense. We can win this game just by not turning it over and helping them. And I think this is another one of those games. And so, the Justin Fields package stuff, I wouldn't add to it. Not for this game. Mm-hmm. If you need to go to it a little bit, maybe, if there are some, but I wouldn't get too tricky.
I don't want to get tricky with it, but if he has a couple of QB draws out there where he can get a chunk play, okay.
A bunch of big blockers.
Yeah, and if the flow of the game indicates that could be necessary, yes. But if it's not, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not trying things. I don't know. I would be conservatively aggressive, if that makes any sense. But I would keep it with the people that I've been using in those situations and in those kinds of plays. For example, you want to take some deep shots? Absolutely. But I'm throwing them to 14. And if I'm not throwing them to him, I'm throwing them to 18. I'm not trying to let's work this guy in or let's see what this guy can do. Or, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. Not this game, not on the 3 days or 4 days, whatever it is, and not this team that's really not good enough, I don't think, to line up and beat you if you play mistake-free football.
Labs, last thing I got for you is we all know that the Steelers have had a ridiculous run of unbelievably great defensive players in their history. Probably more than any organization in the whole league. I can't think of any or many that have played at the level Cam Hayward is playing at now at that age. I mean, am I missing somebody? I mean, he's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, when you threw in at that age.
Yeah,
then you have me agreeing with you. Because Joe Green was out of the league at 30. Sure. What is he, 35? And that's a difficult position, too. Mm-hmm. Defensive line. I'm just thinking of all the Hall of Famers, just real quick in my head.
Lambert didn't last that long, or Woodson was already gone.
Right, and Mel Blount.
Troy, Harris, all those guys, right.
Donnie Shell maybe, but he was a safety. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's that kind of
and frankly, I don't remember Shell at the end of his career. Was he a top 10 defensive player on the planet at that point still? I think that's where Cam Hayward is.
He was right. He was still a very productive safety, but it's safety. Yeah. It's not defensive line.
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be an allowance made for Cam because of the position that he plays. Oh, and speaking of Cam, did you hear about his new nickname?
No, what's that?
The captain of the swim team. That's what Mike Tomlin calls him, the captain of the swim team, because on those days, practice when Cam is given a Veterans Day off, he's in the pool. working on,
I walked
working on
past
it.
him yesterday. It was dripping wet. Everyone else was on the
Yeah.
practice field, right?
Right. And so, yeah, Cam mentioned it in a media briefing or availability or something, and he said, Mike T, as he calls him, I think. He said, calls me the captain of the swim team. So
It's working. Whatever he's doing, it's working.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
As long as he can, if the season ended right now, he's no worse than a second-team All-Pro.
I mean, that pool that he's swimming in might be the fountain of youth.
Well, Dale, what you say, I would agree with. Whether he has voted that, because I have no confidence or trust in the voting for these awards based on who won the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Who knows?
True enough.
They might. Right, what they might come up with.
It's the same group, yeah.
Yes. So, but anyway, I thought that was hilarious. Captain of the swim team.
Good. Yeah.
Anyways, we'll let you go, Labs. I know you got plenty of stuff to get to here as we get closer to kickoff tomorrow between the Steelers and the Browns in Cleveland. It's an 8:15 kickoff. But our guest has been Bob Labriola, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears. We'll talk to him again next Wednesday. We'll see if that's after a Steelers win. We'll start previewing a little Bengals action. That 3 AFC North games in a row after having none. Actually 4 because they play the Browns again.
And that'll be Thanksgiving Eve too.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But Bob, we'll talk to you. Maybe we'll catch up with you here before that. But have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. You guys do the same.
All right. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And it really has been a tale of 2 seasons for the Cleveland Browns this year. It's kind of like you got your BC and AD here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Except it's
like the
BJ and AJ.
It's like the way, 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 way worse version of when the Steelers went to Wilson.
Yeah.
And you're talking about when Winston took over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
They didn't have a single game this season with Deshaun Watson in which they had more than 172 passing yards.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners know, all of our listeners know, that the Watson era this year was really, really bad.
Awful.
But it was like a distant 32nd
It was
offense.
maybe the worst quarterbacking of a team with a chosen starter.
I think it's number 32 on that list, or 1.
And as long as I can remember.
Right. Like Miami when Tua was hurt is different.
But that wasn't their chosen starter.
Exactly.
This was their starter coming out of training camp.
That's what I'm comparing it to, though. Like Watson-led Browns is like Tua-less Dolphins. Yes. and that was horrendous. Like really tough to get first downs.
So they've scored more than 20 points. And this includes the Winston games.
Okay.
They have scored more than 20 points. Actually, they've scored more than 18 points one time this year.
Once.
They had 29 against the Ravens. The other 3 Winston starts.
Did they have a defensive score in that game? Or special teams or something? I think there was something, right.
It's the Winston games, they've scored 14, 29, 10, and 14.
Yeah. Like that.
So they're putting up yards.
Right.
But
a lot of empty calories.
Yeah, they're taking the reservation.
Yeah.
But they're not keeping the reservation. Right. They're not holding it.
Yep. That Saints game's almost, I think we talked about it on Monday. It's almost impossible to mimic
443 yards.
Stats.
Yeah.
I mean, and be that not productive. And I don't think they had a ton of turnovers.
They had none.
And
the Saints turned the ball over twice.
Right. It'd be different if you ran, 99-yard drive and you fumbled on the one twice. Okay, you'd have a lot of yardage and not a lot of points.
They gave up
not what happened.
473 yards to the Saints.
Yeah, a lot of it on the ground, a lot of it business decisions. I keep coming back to Darnell Washington. Like more and more I watch that Ravens tape, and the Ravens have a lot to play for.
Yeah.
There were a lot of dudes that wanted nothing to do with Darnell Washington on the second level.
Yeah.
And maybe the Browns defense plays as well in this game as it did last year. They're capable. But I just think the way the Steelers play.
I don't know if they are.
I mean, that was a really high level last year.
It was an extremely high level, and they're missing some dudes.
They're missing some dudes on the D line that
like,
they traded to.
Is Devin Bush really going to, like...
He's not JOK.
No.
You're right. But, I mean, they're capable of being, I don't know, competitive. They weren't competitive against the Saints.
I go back to, so 3 weeks ago now at home, their last home game came against the Chargers, a physical football team.
That's a hard team to play against.
And this is coming off the win over the Ravens.
Okay.
So they just done some good things.
Winston, his first start back, I keep singing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead.
Threw for 400 yards, or 321 yards against the Ravens. They had 401 total offensive yards, easily their highest, biggest output of the season.
Yeah.
It's their most points they've scored this season. That was 2 games worth of points before this.
I remember previewing that game saying they might be able to hang with the Chargers.
And they lose 27-10. They ran for 79 yards. They turned the ball over 3 times. And the game wasn't really all that competitive. The Steelers and Chargers defenses,
that's what I was going to say,
might be the 2 best defenses in the league.
And they might be the 2 most physical offenses.
And the 2 most physical teams,
yeah. They might be. I think they're the 2 most physical teams in the league. That's kind of where I was going with the Darnell Washington, is to epitomize what you're going to deal with all day. You know, it's just
keep getting, it's
big
like
people.
You're going to keep getting punched in the mouth all day long.
Right. I mean, again, if it's 3 runs, that's like 3 Tyson body blows, and then you punt. You know, I mean, it's just... It's going to wear you out. And their D-line is really thin because of trades and injuries. Their desire has to be thin. Their front seven's thin.
Yeah.
You know, and their desire has to be low. But I'm going to do a show tonight with Merrill Hodge. I mean, he always says never, ever, ever underestimate an embarrassed professional athlete.
Sure.
And that's 100% true.
Absolutely.
You know, right.
Especially in a divisional game on national television.
TV, right. In their building, short week. Hey, the Steelers are going to be more tired in the fourth quarter than usual, too. I mean, they don't have as much rest. You know, if they're still hanging around in the fourth quarter and you're the one that get a punt blocked or something, you're in trouble.
But if you are the team, as the Steelers did last week against the Ravens, and you run 75 plays to their 55,
they'll win by 20.
Yeah.
Even if they're not efficient. I mean,
and the Steelers have done that to several teams this year, where they just keep pounding away, and they win the time of possession by 12 minutes.
And the fans are grumpy in the first half, and then
they start
hopefully
booing.
realize, and I hope they realize that those body blows start to take their toll.
Absolutely. So I just thought that was interesting. I mean, that Ravens game for them has been the outlier.
Absolutely.
They don't score points.
Yeah, I think that was a spark because the guy that they love is replacing the guy that they can't stand and is the anchor of the organization.
Yeah, and now it's kind of worn off a little bit.
Yeah, because they're not all that good.
Yeah.
You know?
I also wonder, too, I mean, again, the Saints gave up some yards last week. But I wonder if they just know that, hey, when Jameis gets in the red zone, it's not quite as – you just can't
bend but don't break type
don't
of
give
stuff,
up the stuff over the top. And, oh, by the way –
that's my big fear, too. Don't let anyone over your head.
Cleveland's kicker, Dustin Hopkins, 14 of 20 this year on field goals.
Right, and I'm sure not any better in the weather.
Yeah,
you know?
So keep that in mind as well. Let's get to another break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is the drive on the Steelers Audio Network. You can hear the drive every Monday through Friday, except for tomorrow because there's a game.
Right. And next Thursday.
And next Thursday because it's Thanksgiving.
Yep.
4 to 6 p.m. we are on, except for holidays and game days.
Yep.
And you can also download the Steelers mobile app and get the show downloaded to your phone on there and get all the other good content that's on it. You can read me, you can read Matt on Steelers.com, and you can also watch on our YouTube page and leave us comments. And, well,
it's been a hit.
People hate you, though.
I think they're easing up. Just a couple that aren't fond.
Yeah, there's some people still beating the drum, but that's okay.
I'll win them back over.
There you go. It is now time for the Fantasy Football Focus. And, Matt, I thought since this is a Steelers standalone game tomorrow, let's go ahead and pick a captain's chair game.
Okay.
We should be able to get this one.
Yeah, I just don't love what we're picking from. Weather, and I'm not expecting
it's a little nasty, but I think we have a better, more intimate knowledge of the teams than most.
This is our slump buster.
If we'd have started our captain's lineup last week, we would have won.
Yeah, I know. The one we did on the air.
Yeah.
But we just didn't hit return on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
We'll do it this week. All right. So in the captain's chair, George
real quick.
Yes.
What about Steelers D in the captain's chair?
I don't hate it.
I think they're going to have 1 million sacks.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Okay, well, let's go through it, but I'm just throwing it out there to get.
Pickens is 16.5 in the captain's chair. Russell Wilson is 15,000. Justin Fields 14.7. Justin Fields more expensive than Jameis Winston. How about that?
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense either to me. Jameis Winston 14.4. Najee Harris 13.8. Nick Chubb 13.5. Jerry Jeudy 12,000. Njoku is 11.4. Cedric Tillman 10.5. Elijah Moore 9.6. Jalen Warren 9,300. That would be attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey Zappi. You don't need Bailey Zappi. You don't need Deshaun Watson. Thompson Robinson. Another Kyle.
There's not a ton of guys to pick from.
Steelers defense would be 8,100 in the captain's chair. It's not that much cheaper than Jalen Warren.
I still love it.
$1,200. Boswell 7,500.
Wyndham.
Dustin Hopkins is 7,200. Jerome Ford is 6,600. The Browns defense is 6,000. Freiermuth is 5,400. Mike Williams 4,800. Van Jefferson 4,200. Darnell Washington is 3,600. I mean, you want to go to the Steelers D in the captain's chair? I have no problem with that.
Yeah, and then I think we load up on the expensive guys.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored by the Browns. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think there could be big plays by the Steelers D.
Yeah. In fact, I might guarantee something like that.
Don't blame me. I'm thinking Minka's first turnover in a long time is coming in the next 24 hours or so.
All right, that leaves us an average of almost 8,400 to spend on our 5 flex players. Pickens is 11,000.
Say, is Pickens worth it? If we don't think they're going to throw a ton,
I think
weather's an issue.
I think you have to put Najee Harris in the lineup.
I agree. I would say Najee was the other one I was going to maybe campaign for the captain.
You start there, and I also think Jalen Warren has to be in the lineup somewhere at 72
because he's thinking in the same way.
He's 6,200.
Yeah, I think all three of those guys, the defense and the two backs, had a case to be in the captain's chair.
Yeah, so that leaves us 3 spots. We can average 8,800.
I wouldn't mind putting Winston in because he's going to throw a lot.
Yeah.
And there might be a lot of garbage time, and they have good weapons.
Okay.
Instead of picking Tillman or Jeudy or Njoku, I think I just
go with the quarterback.
Blanket.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. That leaves us then 16,900 for our last 2 spots. You got Pickens at 11,000, Russell Wilson at 10,000, Nick Chubb, Justin Fields is 9,800, Nick Chubb is 9,000. I'm just looking for another cheap option. I kind of don't.
You might want to put like Pickens and Darnell Washington in.
Or Pickens and Mike Williams, or.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking big people. I don't want Austin. I don't want Jefferson. I think this is going to be a big-bodied slugfest.
Yeah.
And could roll the dice on one of the Browns' pass catchers. I just don't know which one.
Which one would be the
right?
Yeah, you don't. It's almost a dart throw.
Well, who's the cheapest? I'm sure it's Elijah Moore.
He is 6,400.
I mean, they pretty much.
Njoku's 76. Judy's 8,000. Njoku's 76. Tillman is 7,000, and Elijah Moore is 6,400.
The thing that, at least in the fantasy world lately, all those guys are almost eating the entire pie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like all 4 of them are equal slices of the pie. You know, they're all getting 8-ish targets or more.
The other question is, do you pivot to Jerome Ford because he's out there on every third down?
I know. I just wonder how much pass blocking he's going to do.
He might be the dump-off option, like chip and dump it to the flat.
And if they're losing the fourth quarter, he's going to be out there. I mean, Chubb hardly played in the second half in New Orleans.
And again, so if you do that, then you can afford whoever you want.
Yeah.
In the other spot.
I'd say Pickens is the most expensive item.
Yeah.
What do we have 2 spots, right?
Yeah.
If we put Pickens in, what does that leave us?
5,900, which would be Boswell, Hopkins, Jerome Ford, the Browns defense, with money left over.
What if we got crazy?
Okay.
And put Najee in the captain chair. And put Steelers D. I don't know if I like that. I mean, it seems like we have more money than we need.
Yes.
Because there's not a ton of options in this game, you know.
Right.
So do we get more expensive in the captain's chair?
We could.
And have less to play with in the
If I take the Steelers defense out of the captain's chair and put them in as a regular play.
Just flop them and Najee.
They're only 5,400. That would leave us 8,600 to spend in the captain's chair. If we take Najee out of the lineup, then we have 9,200 for Najee. Wait, that's his regular price. In the captain's chair, Najee would be 13,800. That leaves us 4,000, which would be the Browns defense.
For one spot.
Yeah. The Browns defense, Pat Freiermuth, Mike Williams, Van Jefferson, Darnell Washington, Calvin Austin. We'd still have money left over.
I think Freiermuth's my favorite of those. I mean, I know his targets are really far down, but I don't know if I like that system better than Steeler D in the captain's chair. Because we get pretty expensive with.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost, if you put George Pickens in the captain's chair, you can still get the Steelers defense.
And Najee.
I'll get the Steelers defense in there. Najee in there would leave us then 3,100, and we could still afford Van Jefferson, Darnell Washington, Calvin Austin. We just miss out on Mike Williams and
yeah. I'm not sure this is the week to buy the most expensive captain chair guy.
Yeah.
But I do want Pickens in the lineup.
Right.
Do you prefer Najee or the Steeler D in the captain's chair?
What about Jaylen Warren in the captain's
All right,
chair?
let's see what that shapes out to be with the.
He's 9,300. He's going to catch passes. He's going to run. He's had over 60 yards, I think, in each of the last.
Yeah, he's consistently put yards from scrimmage up. Their linebackers aren't great in coverage.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want Pickens, right, at 11,000. That leaves us 5,500. That would get us.
They get like Elijah Moore.
We're just short of that. He's 6,400. We have 55.
So what's the best option there? Probably Ford.
So that's with Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, George Pickens, Jameis Winston, Steelers defense in the lineup.
I think I like our build with the Steelers D as the captain's chair best.
We're going to have money left over.
I know.
I can live with that. It's all about getting the best.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steelers defense is in there. We got 12,000.
We have Warren, Harris, Pickens, Winston at this point.
We have Harris, Pickens, Winston, Warren, and we have 5,900 remaining.
Which leaves us who? Ford?
Boswell, Hopkins, Ford, the Browns defense, Freiermuth, Mike Williams.
I think it comes down to Boz or Ford. Definitely not Hopkins, if you can get Boz.
I think I would go Boswell. I mean, Ford, for as much as he's averaging 8.8 points per game.
Browns' red zone defense is awful, though.
It's awful.
Yeah. And
Boswell's averaged 13 points per game.
Yeah. I just think it'll be a low Boz game because I think the Steelers will punch it in better than they have.
So if he
and the weather
in the game against last week, Ford had 7.9 fantasy points. He caught 4 passes for 29 yards. He had 5 carries for 10 yards. That's not,
he's not very good.
It's not super exciting.
Right.
He would almost have to catch the 4 or 5 passes again to make that worth it. Mm-hmm. If Boswell kicks 1 field goal and kicks 3 extra points.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't want to be so Steeler heavy. I don't think the Steelers are going to win 40-0.
No, I don't either. Right. But if they win 24-10,
yeah,
and the right guys score,
and we have Winston. So I mean, he's the one that's
the
right Brown to have. I definitely feel confident about that. Okay. I mean, Boz is pretty safe.
Yeah, this might be a little chalky. I don't know.
Well, there's not that many options.
There just aren't.
There's not that many.
We have $900 left over, but the only other option to do this is to start guessing which Browns wide receiver.
I know. I was kind of thinking about that route. But who would we have to dump to play that game? You have to probably dump Warren.
You'd probably dump Warren,
which I don't love.
But will one of those Browns receivers outscore Warren? Maybe.
Okay, weird thing. Last approach I want to take. Pull Boz and Pickens out.
If we take Warren out of the lineup, that leaves us 7,100. That would get us Tillman or Moore.
I'm not thrilled about losing Warren, though.
Okay. So you want to take out
Pickens and Boz.
Okay. That leaves us an average of 8,450.
Is it worth having 2 Browns receivers instead of those two? And can you swing it? Can that get you Tillman and Moore?
We can definitely swing it. That gets you Njoku and
Tillman?
yeah.
Would you rather have those two, or would you rather have Pickens and Boz? Brown's corners aren't bad. I don't know you're going to need Pickens a lot.
I don't know that you are either.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, for the most expensive guy on the slate.
Right.
I mean, he almost has to blow up. I don't know that he has to blow up for them to win.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a 5 catches for 69 yards or something like that.
It doesn't score, and we don't win because of it,
Right.
And the Steelers win by 2 touchdowns still.
I don't mind Njoku and Tillman. Actually, we could afford
probably any 2 we want.
Yeah.
I still think Tillman's their one.
We could actually even get Russell Wilson in the lineup. Have both quarterbacks.
This is kind of putting the cart before
and
the
still
horse,
have enough for Elijah Moore.
I think there's a good chance Fields just finishes out the game and Wilson's joking on the sidelines.
There's a chance.
That doesn't mean he didn't throw 3 touchdowns already. But
so if we went, let's say Njoku and Tillman,
they would be my choices of the 4, if we can have anybody. If price doesn't matter,
we still have $2,300 left though.
Oh wow!
That's what I'm saying.
Guys, right?
Yeah.
But what if we pulled Warren out and put Pickens in?
We don't have enough money to do that.
No.
We could actually pull Winston out, but and get Pickens in.
But then if the other 2 guys are the ones,
that's the only problem with that.
He was a nice blanket over those others.
So let's take Tillman back out, put Warren back in. We have 9,300. That would get us Chubb. Pickens is 11,000. That doesn't do it. So if we go Moore at 6,400, that gets us to 10,500. Still not enough money.
Does this bring us back to the conversation of we want to change the? What if we put Winston in the captain's chair?
He's way too expensive.
Okay.
He's extremely expensive to do that.
And then we lived on Elijah Moores and Warrens and those types. Steeler D, Najee.
We could try it, but I mean, Winston is where's he at on here? I got to take him off the. Okay, so Winston is 9,600. Whoops. Mm-hmm. No, that's his regular price.
I'm betting this is going to work.
Winston in the captain's chair is 14,400.
Okay. Can we put 2 guys I have to have are Steelers D and Najee?
Okay. Steelers D's in there. Najee is in there.
What can we get out of Warren?
Let me see here. Warren is in there. Okay.
Browns receivers. I thought Freiermuth was too cheap. If we want to throw a cheapie in there, I could live with Ford. Boz.
If we went Freiermuth, that gets us 11,200, and we could get Pickens in the lineup. But that would be Winston in the captain's chair, Najee Harris, the Steelers defense, Freiermuth, Jalen Warren, and George Pickens.
Right. So we kind of cover all bases.
Unless Winston gets hurt.
Well, then we lose. Right.
Then we lose.
Right.
Because I don't think they're going to run the ball.
Who were the 5?
We have Najee Harris, Steelers defense, Pat Freiermuth, Jalen Warren, George Pickens.
All right, my last suggestion. If we pulled Freiermuth and Pickens out, could we get Njoku and Tillman? Or 2 of the 4 Browns receivers? Pickens seems overpriced to me for this game.
We can actually get them both. Yeah, we can get Njoku and Tillman.
I like that.
And have $200 left over.
That's the least we've had left over, I think.
I think we had that with the last bill, too, yeah.
So, am I right on the Winston on the captain's chair?
Yes.
Najee, Steelers, Tillman, Njoku, Warren.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay, so that's Jameis Winston at 14,400 in the captain's chair. Najee Harris at 9,200. Steelers defense at 5,400. David Njoku at 7,600. Jalen Warren at 6,200. And Cedric Tillman at 7,000.
So with our luck in DFS, that means Herbig's going to blow by that jabroni left tackle on the first play of the game and knock Winston out of the game.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Steelers win then.
All right, I'm entering it. It's locked in. Again, these are match lineups. These are not necessarily my lineups, but this is what he would do here. I'm just paying for it.
Yeah, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah. Anyways, that's our DFS lineup for this standalone game.
That's not an easy puzzle to build there.
They never are. That's why I don't necessarily love doing it.
I don't either.
Yeah, but
because the captain's chair is a lot of weight.
Yeah, and you got to get the right guy in the captain's chair.
Mm-hmm.
We did it last week with Ekeler.
That was a good build.
Yeah, so you got to kind of pick the team that's going to lose in some cases, and you think they're going to be playing a lot of catch up.
That screams Winston to me.
Yeah, but are they going to score enough touchdowns too?
Right,
that's the key.
But if he throws for 350 in one touch,
I don't think
350 is a big number.
He's not throwing for 350
in the wind and all that.
Yeah.
But if he throws for 280 in a touch, is it worth it?
As long as he doesn't throw 3 picks and fumble 4 times.
Is there negatives on these two?
Yeah.
I think there will be a turnover.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it. I like it. That works. That's our fantasy football focus for today. We're going to get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And we briefly touched on it before we had Bob on, a little bit with Bob as well. Myles Garrett poking T.J. Watt with a stick.
Yeah, I kind of heard it indirectly. The way I understood it, and you know better than I would, somebody asked Garrett the other day, yesterday, whatever, did TJ deserve the award more than you or something like that last year?
I think it was more, did TJ, were you upset that Watt didn't go to the event?
That's how it started. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess he responded something along the lines of, well, nobody asked me that when he won the award. I guess he felt he deserved it the year Watt won it.
Well, I think he's full of crap.
I don't remember his year well enough, but I thought
it wasn't close. I can go back.
Yeah.
TJ set the NFL record for sacks in a single game, and he missed 2 games.
So, of course, there's been a lot of Watt Garrett stuff, as there will be for Eternity Browns Steelers week. And you guys know my thoughts on Garrett.
Yeah.
But I know I would have voted for Watt last year, and I would have voted Watt for the year that he won it. I don't think, as great as I think Garrett is, by no means did he deserve it last year.
No.
He really didn't.
It was a career achievement award for Myles Garrett.
I felt like the voters decided that in September.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? That
it's his year. It's his turn.
His year, right. And he just finished the season really slow.
Yeah.
And people forget that part. Like, he was great for 12 weeks or whatever it was.
It wasn't even that long.
It wasn't. I was thinking it was like a month and a half where he was
very
nondescript.
I'm calling it up here. But
the sack totals were really low at the end of the year.
The last 7 or 8 games of the year, I think he had 1 sack.
Mm-hmm.
It was not.
That's what I remember too, but I thought it was like 5 or 6.
It was not a good finish.
Watt had a better year,
undoubtedly. Yeah, led the league in sacks once again. So Myles Garrett after week 10, these last 7 weeks of the season, had 1 sack.
Yeah.
He had 2, 3, 5, 11 tackles.
Wow, okay.
11 tackles and 1 sack in the final 6-7 games of the year.
Yeah, on a good defense.
On a good defense.
Right. That was a much more competitive team than it is now.
And I think the biggest argument was that, he had better pass rush win rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, we get back into this analytics BS again.
Right.
Somebody sitting.
He's getting double and more or whatever. Right.
The double team rates were ridiculous. I can remember looking at that, and people would actually use that as a stat. Well, he gets doubled way more than T.J. Watt. I'm like, what are you watching?
I was just saying, nobody gets doubled way more than T.J. Watt.
No.
Maybe 1 more a game, maybe. But nobody gets doubled way more than T.J.
Because Watt. They didn't consider at that time for that particular stat, and they've since changed as Pro Football Focus has changed. Some of the other ones have not.
Because it used to be like 17%.
It was 14.
Right.
They had Alex Highsmith being double-teamed more than T.J. Watt. And I said, look, I see every Steelers game. I'm in the stadium
It's
watching
not
this.
true.
And
Right.
oftentimes I've got my binoculars trained on these two guys, the ends. I'm watching them both because I can watch them both through the binoculars. And I can guarantee you that Alex Highsmith is not double-teamed more than T.J. Watt.
Alex is wonderful, but his path to the quarterback is easier than Watt's.
Yes.
And everyone on the planet will scheme that way.
But they didn't.
Same with the Browns.
They didn't consider it a double team if it wasn't two offensive linemen getting hands on the guy.
Which is ludicrous.
Ridiculous.
Especially because Watt usually almost always wins to the outside shoulder of the tackle. I mean, he has a diverse.
His explosion and bend are
but
ridiculous.
He wins the same way a lot for all the great pass rushers of all time. He wins with the same approach as much as any of them. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean he's a one-trick pony, but he always almost wins to the outside shoulder of the right tackle.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes but pinballing off this running back and this tight end and hustling around, all that stuff. But you can't get two offensive linemen. My point is two offensive linemen aren't going to touch him.
Aren't going to get out there.
Right. He might get touched by three human beings before he touches the fourth human being, the quarterback. But you're not going to double him with a guard on the outside shoulder of the tackle.
Yeah, they're not. They didn't count the chip from the tight end and the chip from the running back, which allowed the offensive tackle to recover
the obstacle course
and get out there and set the final wall up.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't consider that a double team.
Right, which is ludicrous. Which is why we laughed at it when they're like, "Oh, these guys have been doubled 17%, 20%." I'm like, "No, they're not. No, they're not."
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Browns fans would argue, well, Myles Garrett gets doubled twice as much as T.J. Watt.
Yeah, that's not true.
It's BS.
This is not true. He stunts more into the inside. It's easier for two linemen to touch him than it is to touch Watt.
Yeah.
If that's how you're going to judge it. But that's not how you should judge it.
It's not how it should be judged.
Right.
It's how many hands are on you. Nobody, as I said then, it would be criminal if the offensive coordinators of the league were only double teaming T.J. Watt 14% of the time.
He'd have 30 sacks. As would Garrett. As
would any of them.
Right.
Any of them. That's why you double team these. They're all good.
Right.
If
Highsmith gets 86% of his snaps alone with a left tackle and no one else bumps him, he would have 15 sacks.
Yeah.
You know?
What isn't happening now that used to happen back in the day are tight ends, teams using just a tight end to try to block those outside linebackers. That used to happen a lot.
All right.
And the Steelers, when the Steelers got an outside linebacker, if it was Jason Gilden or if it was Joey Porter,
in their five-man front, they would.
Yeah. On a tight end, it was over.
Yeah, it was over.
But that doesn't happen anymore.
And they'll never leave alone on a back.
No.
Like football history, that was part of the brilliance of Lawrence Taylor, is they called him a linebacker. Like, people who follow me know that it bugs me that they call that position an outside linebacker. You don't back the line. But it's a sneaky Parcells thing to say, he's a linebacker. He's Jack Ham. He's Brooks.
Yeah.
You know, he's not a linebacker.
You're not dropping him into coverage.
He can, but he's a terror off the edge. And people were blocking the LT in his rookie year with tight ends. You know, and then Gibbs creates this H-back situation and puts his back over there. Like, nobody knew how to block him. You know, what the plan is with Lawrence Taylor. Because he's standing on 2 feet. He's not a, quote, defensive end. Should we dedicate a tackle to him? You got to dedicate everybody to him.
Yeah,
right?
It's a good idea.
Line, right?
Yeah.
And you quickly figured that out. But his rookie year or two, the league didn't know what to do with those guys.
No, for sure. But even this season, like Garrett, he has 7 sacks for the season. But he had 3 in one game.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great year.
No. He had 3 in one game. He had 2 in another.
He's had a great year, but he has not had a blow your doors off defensive MVP kind of year.
He has a game with 1 tackle, another game with 1 assist, and a game with no stats whatsoever.
I thought he had 2 games with no.
They must have given him an
assist or something.
Assist
one of those
after the fact because it wasn't on the original play sheet. I went back and looked. I'm like, I mean, I watched the game. It was a game against the Ravens. I'm like, Myles Garrett play?
Right, yeah.
Is he out there? And I look at the stats, and he had no tackles, no sacks, nothing. And then I go back and look. Now I'm looking at this, and they credit him with an assist. Anyways,
but back to the interview earlier in the week. what did he say something? What was why is he poking the bear? Like, that's what I don't quite remember.
So after Watt was in Vegas for the awards ceremony, but he didn't go to the awards ceremony because he knew he wasn't going to win, and he tweeted out.
But he was a finalist.
All he did was tweet out, "Nothing I'm not used to." And of course, Myles Garrett, being the slappy that he is, took that as an affront and said that TJ owes him an apology. No, he didn't say nothing to me. Well, first of all, he hasn't seen you yet. You guys haven't played. Secondly, he says he's got to apologize to me when I see him. Really? What's he have to apologize for?
Right. No, I don't understand the logic behind that.
I think Myles Garrett is a slappy. I do. I think he's kind of slappy.
I don't like his personality.
I don't like his, the whole basketball thing and
he's an odd dude.
You don't have to be flashy. Put up the numbers, and then that's the one thing that you can appreciate about T.J. Watt. Yes, he'll celebrate a sack. Yes, he'll get excited about stuff. Sure. But he's never disrespectful.
But he's a nose of the grindstone.
Yeah.
You're straight late. Yeah.
Myles is. You don't need to say that.
No, I'm saying there's nothing to be gained.
Take the high road. You won the award.
Yeah, Watt didn't say Garrett stinks.
No.
I mean, that's not what he tweeted or anything like that. Right.
Watt led the league in sacks for the third time.
And at that point,
fourth time.
Fourth.
He's the only guy since sacks became.
I'm saying the history of the league, right?
Since sacks became an actual statistic in 1982, he's the only guy to lead the league in 4 times in sacks.
Yeah. Wow.
And he didn't. And he's only won Defensive Player of the Year once. Like, he's gotten jobbed a couple of times, actually.
I'm trying to think who won it the other years that he.
In 2019, he probably.
Garrett was one. He won one of them. Who were the other two? Donald?
I think Donald won one. And the cornerback.
The Gilmore year.
The Gilmore year.
I forget. There was a couple strong but not obvious candidates that year. And I kind of felt like Gilmore won it by default.
That was Watt's was like Watt's coming out year. That was his first year. He led the league in sacks. Sacks were down that year. Remember, holding was legal.
Yeah.
But the Steelers had a really good defense. Again, this was 2019. They won games with their defense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like Gilmore was not the best defensive player on the planet that year.
No.
He was a good corner. I'm not sure he's the best corner in the league at that point. I mean, he was a good corner. But that didn't settle with me either. I'm not sure I would have voted for Watt that year. I don't remember. But I would not have voted for Gilmore.
Yeah. But Watt definitely should have won it last year.
Oh, I think so, too.
And for Garrett to sit there and say Watt owes him an apology?
Yeah.
Take your apology and stick it where.
Yeah. So the
world if I'm TJ Watt in this game, every time I get a sack, and I think there will be multiple ones, but every time I get a sack, I'm doing my celebration and looking at the sideline. There's your apology, pal.
Kick kids' direction.
Yeah. Take that for an apology.
So where's Watt on the sack leaders now for the season? I know he's not super high. Hendrickson's number 1.
Yeah, Hendrickson's number 1. Hendrickson is not going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
No, he's not. Definitely not.
I mean,
and I'm just wondering,
you just can't do that.
Can TJ get to another sack title?
He's not out of the right. He's got 7.5 right now.
So about an hour ago, I think the Steelers are going to have a dozen sacks in the next 2 weeks. And that might be low. I mean,
Hendrickson has 11.5 right now.
Okay.
But to your point, so the leaders right now,
right up the top.
He's right now. Watt is tied for 7th.
Okay, I knew there's quite a few between them.
You got Hendrickson with 11.5. You've got Dexter Lawrence with 9, but he's been stuck on 9.
He's not going
to. He's not going to. He might finish with like 10 or 11.
He might demand a trade.
He's not going to have any situations to sack the quarterback the rest of the year.
As great as he is, it won't be him.
Nick Bonito,
really good player,
with Denver has 9.
He's not going to win the sack title.
Dante Fowler has 8.5.
He's not a sack title type player.
No. Andrew Van Ginkel with Minnesota has 8.
Okay.
Will McDonald has 8.
Part-time player on a team that's falling apart too.
Danielle Hunter has 7.5.
He would worry me.
He's already played 11 games though.
Oh, he's on his bye.
Yeah, they haven't had their bye yet. Watt has 7.5.
Who's nipping on their heels? Who's at 6.5 or more?
Well, Aiden Hutchinson still has 7.5. That's not going to happen.
He's done.
Trayvon Walker, that's not going to happen.
No. These are a lot of on bad team guys.
Yeah. Will Anderson's got 7.5.
He needs to come back this week.
Yeah.
Him and Hunter feed off each other.
Kyle Van Noy has 7. Myles Garrett has 7. Frankie Louvu has 7. Jonathan Greenard has 7. Pat Jones from Minnesota has 7. Patrick Jones, that's what the Pitt kid. Nick Bosa has 7. Owe has 7. Tui Tuipulotu has 7.
So you named like 20 guys there that are the top 20, give or take, sack leaders as we speak. I think there's like 4 names that can win it. I'm going to say Hendrickson can because he's got a lead. Hunter, Watt.
But you can't give it to Hendrickson on an awful defense.
No, I'm not talking about the player of the year. I'm talking
talking about the sack title. Okay,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
He's got the lead, and he's really good, but their season's in jeopardy. I mean, bad teams aren't going to get a lot of sacks. I think both Houston guys have a chance.
They might cancel each other out, though.
Hunter's more likely of the two. I think Watt has a chance. I think Hendrickson has a chance. I could still write a story that Garrett gets a ton of sacks half the way, but I could also write a story that his foot's a mess and they shut him down in week 12.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Benito. It's not going to be – I'm just talking about sack leader. I like Watt's chances. I know that the way teams play make it really tough on him, and his impact has been felt more than the sacks. But these Browns and Bengals games?
Let's say he gets 2 in this game. Let's say he gets 3 in the 2 games against the Browns. Well, now he's at 10.5. Let's say he gets
5 in the next 2 weeks.
Let's say he gets 2 or 3 more against the Bengals, which is certainly possible.
These Ohio teams have terrible tackles and live in 11 personnel,
and they want to throw the football.
They have no chippers.
Yeah.
I mean, he may get another one.
Yeah.
I don't think the people in front of him aren't that difficult.
He also gets Kansas City with Juwan Taylor.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
He's awful.
Lane Johnson's a problem.
That's a problem.
Baltimore's not a good sack team just because of the way you play them. But those Ohio teams, you get 8 between those 4 games.
Now you're back in there. You're
not that far from 20 all of a sudden.
The thing that he is doing really well this year, he's second in the league, 1 behind Van Ginkel with tackles for a loss with 12.
I think he's the best run defending edge player in the league.
Yeah.
Including true 4-3 end types that are bigger than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 3 pass defenses. He's got 4 forced fumbles, which...
Bosa's the other name I thought could win it, but his hip is a disaster right now. He plays like 2 plays and gets off the field.
I mean, the 4 forced fumbles still leads the league.
He's one of the best ever at that.
Yeah. He's going to get some opportunities to get some more.
Yeah.
So if he starts hitting the quarterback more often, which is going to happen here.
And I'd say it's setting up pretty well for a sack run.
Yeah. So.
And Highsmith should be back, which helps,
So keep talking, Miles. Keep poking the bear.
Miles has nothing to lose or win by all of it. I mean, he's on a terrible team stuck in purgatory forever.
He really is.
No one's feeling bad for him, but, man, what would the Lions have given up for Myles Garrett at the trade deadline? Take whatever you want.
Yeah.
And the Browns might have been better off for it. Give me 3 firsts.
Myles Garrett this year has 23 tackles in 10 games.
Wow.
He's averaging less than 2.5 tackles per game.
I hate that stat, but that's still unbelievably low.
Yeah. And that's he just not been very he's impactful again. He's impactful when he's on the field because you have to account for him. Mm-hmm. But they just don't have anybody else.
No, they don't. And there's just some of these teams like Lawrence is going to be the same way with the Giants. Like you're throwing DeVito out there and season shot. I mean, it's hard to thrive.
It really is.
I mean, how many leads are you going to play with if you're the Giants or Browns the rest of the year?
Yeah, for sure.
At least the Bengals might, or at least be in games where it's throw.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see if T.J. Watt makes him eat some of his words this weekend.
I like his chances though to challenge for the sack leaders here though in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's not been extended. Hendrickson's averaging basically a sack per game, which is what he did last year.
Yeah,
he had 17 last year.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I would Vegas odds. I'd still put Hendrickson his best chance to be sack leader. He's got the lead, and he's really good.
So let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. When we come back, Matt and I'll make our game picks for tomorrow's matchup against the Cleveland Browns. I think I know where we both might be leaning here, but we'll see right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network, and it is time, Matt, to make our game picks for Steelers versus Browns. That will take place tomorrow on Thursday, 8:15, up in Cleveland, and I made the first pick last week. You're up.
I picked the Steelers to win, and
this will shock people.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be low scoring, grind it out, run. I don't care how we score, 6-9 type of game, or is it going to be 30-0 type of game just because you're better? The weather to me makes me think that the Steelers aren't going to put up 30, and they might. I don't think they'll have to. I picked the game 23-10 Steelers. I get the feeling that the second half won't be competitive.
Okay. I'm just looking at this. Actually, I was thinking 23-10 was in my mind.
Yeah. I don't feel great about my score, but I feel good about the winner and covering and all that.
I think the Steelers score 3 touchdowns in this game.
Okay.
And I think they win, let's say, 24-13.
Okay.
I think it's a comfortable win. The Steelers are favored by 3.5, 4 points, whatever.
Yeah, that seems low to me.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the other spreads,
I don't even know what the over/under is.
It's low. It's like 35 or
is
something
it?
like that. Yeah. I thought coming out of the gate, there were some other games like Baltimore's favored by the same amount in LA against the Chargers. Like.
Okay, yeah, that seems like a much stiffer test.
Yeah.
If we think the Ravens and Steelers are equal, let's play that game.
I mean,
they just played, but they're both good.
Yeah.
Going to LA is a much stiffer test than going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Even on a short.
The only
week.
thing I figured was the short week maybe was getting factored into that. Yeah.
Weather and all that.
That kind of stuff. Right. But I thought it was it's kind of disrespectful to the Steelers that they're only favored by. It opened at like 3.5. It then went to 4. Now I think it's back to 3.5.
Okay.
Maybe,
I'm sure I don't know a lot about betting, but I'm sure Vegas treats Thursday night games differently.
A little bit, I would think.
I would imagine.
And maybe the weather is held that down a little bit. But I just think the Steelers are the better football team. Mm-hmm. And I can't get past that.
In like every area.
In every area. There's no area in this game where you would look at it and say, yeah, the Ravens or the Browns are clearly better.
There's 2 things I think that scare me, other than your whole starting defensive line gets hurt, or you have 8 turnovers or something bonkers. Boswell can't kick between the uprights anymore, or something crazy. Could Winston really get super hot and throw for over 300 yards? Maybe. Could Garrett cause you massive problems? Maybe. I mean, they're like the only matchup.
I don't think he will though,
find.
because they are not going to let him do that.
Right.
That's just they've never have.
I know. I mean, again, I think the Steelers' pass defense and pass rush won't let the former one happen either.
Right. You're just not gonna.
How can the Browns win? Is what I keep racking my brain here. Is Garrett has 4 sacks and is the most disruptive player
in 12
field.
career games against the Steelers. He has 9 sacks.
I mean, they're going to put Darnell Washington all over him.
He's going to get double teamed constantly.
Yeah.
And you're just going to not allow him to take the game over. Is he going to get to the quarterback on occasion? Sure.
Yeah.
Is he going to get hits? Yeah.
Just the makeup of the team, the Steelers are way better set up to help on Garrett than the Browns are on Watt.
I think the Arthur Smith factor is huge in this one.
Yeah, they're not going to come. I mean, even if they come out in double tights, Brevin Jordan and Njoku aren't blocking Herbig, let alone Watt. No chance.
But the Steelers guys,
they all can.
They all can do that.
Yeah, their backs are better in protection. Washington's a tackle. They'll throw a 6th offensive lineman out there at times. Pruitt's not a joke as a blocker. I mean, they'll line Hayward up in the backfield as a fullback. If he's the whole problem, the second half, he's going to have to go through 6 dudes.
Yeah.
They're just going to build all the way down.
And Dan Moore's actually done a credible job against him over the course of his career.
We haven't talked about this, but I would put Garrett on Jones' side more often, especially on passing downs.
Yeah.
Without question. And
But
challenge him as a pass protector.
Even then, I mean, Jones has played better the last couple of weeks.
And I still like the chance of Jones and Washington blocking him.
Yeah.
So
Jones got called for 2 penalties on the same drive last week against the Ravens. The first one, I don't think they called the right guy. because I saw a
have to think about
replay.
it. Okay.
I saw a replay of the play, and I'm watching him, what he did. He didn't do anything that would have even closely resembled a hold on the play.
Really? I don't remember that in real time. But
The second one that he got called for, he took his guy who was trying to go to his left, or to his the defender was trying to go to his right, and he drove him into the ground to his right. He didn't hold him.
Yeah.
He didn't pull him. He didn't.
Buried him.
He just buried him, and they called that a hold.
He had a few of those in the run
Yeah.
game. Probably should have brought this up earlier in the week, but short week. I think since the bye, these have been his best 2 games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
Protection's still an issue.
There were people though that on the comment section, is Dan Moore is what are they going to do with Broderick Jones? I'm like, he's actually played really well, but people heard the 2 penalties last week and automatically dinged him for it. And I don't think either one were warranted.
I'd have to look at him. I'll believe you. I mean, but I thought in the run game he was a plus player for sure.
Yeah.
Both those games, and I think protection still needs work. But to be frank, I mean, before the bye, he'd block the wrong guy. He wouldn't. Snap counts would be bad. Like I think getting away and like being okay,
let's reset.
I'm better
here.
than this.
Yeah, let's reset.
Let's reset. I think has helped him a lot.
And I thought Mike Tomlin again. Tomlin was asked about him this week. Are you worried about Broderick Jones because of the 2 penalties? Again, what are you watching, people? You got to don't
like
just
a corner that allows one.
Don't just listen to he had 2 penalties and say he had a bad game. That's not the case. But secondly, Tomlin said, "Look, you got to understand. He's younger than Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick.
Yeah.
He's 23 years old.
He's a bust. He stinks.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he's a puppy.
He should still be in college.
He's growing into his paws.
Yeah.
And it's the nature of the business too. If you're a tackle or a corner, 96% of your plays could be great.
Yeah.
But the fans will be like, remember that touchdown he let up?
He
stinks. Right.
Joey Porter Jr. He's having a bad year.
Yeah.
All of his penalties came in 2 games.
He was awesome in this past game too.
Yeah. All of his penalties came in 2 games. Mm-hmm. I think he has 10 penalties.
He's going to get penalties.
10 penalties on the year. 9 of them have come in 2 games.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
6 of them came in 1 game with Clete Blakeman's crew working it.
Yeah.
I forgot to even look to see who's working this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't know. I
have no idea. That's usually again short week. I just didn't have time to.
I mean, all of my stat packs are paid shorter than it usually is,
Right.
And it's just one of those things. It's just like you got to cram it in.
People expect this stuff though from me.
Yeah, we should get over it.
So it is Brad Allen's crew. I think that we had Brad Allen's crew recently.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. But yeah. I'm trying to think. I think he's done a Steelers game recently already.
I think we had a talk over the last 4 weeks or so about him.
But
I don't remember it being egregious one way or another. Either.
No, I don't think he's one of the high penalty guys.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and take a look here. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have games like that just doesn't go your way. Yeah, Brad Allen's crew is actually one of the better. They only call 11 penalties per game, which is the league average is 12.73. Okay. So they're below average on that. And if you're looking at what they like to call, let's see, what Steeler game did they do here? Brad Allen. No, they haven't. They must have done a standalone game that I was talking about because they haven't done a Steeler game yet this year. So
rung a bell.
Yeah. So their most called penalty most often is false start. 27 of those.
Well,
you're going to have to call that.
Who the staff is for that.
17 holding penalties, so 1.7 per game. You can live with that. 12 defensive pass interference penalties, so 1.2 per game. 7 roughing the passers, so that's a little probably higher than most.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like
that shouldn't affect the game.
If it's a pretty clean game, it shouldn't be littered with flags and
the Browns are the more penalized team.
Yeah, they're right top of the league.
Yeah,
and they're not as bad as the Ravens, but they're real close.
They're not bad. They're not far off.
Yeah, real close.
So keep that in mind as well.
I mean, once again, special teams, turnovers, penalties greatly favor the Steelers.
The margins all favor the Steelers.
Yep.
Offensively favors the Steelers. Defensively favors the Steelers. As to your point, special teams favors the Steelers. Coaching favors the Steelers.
Quarterback. I mean, they should win.
They should win. Absolutely. Can't put it any more simple than that.
I just keep going back to short week on the road.
Short week is the only thing that throws it into the mixer a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of levels the playing field. But other than that, I mean, the Steelers have an advantage no matter how you look at this game.
Don't mean to jinx it, but we get back here on Friday and you're 9-2.
Feeling pretty good.
Pretty strong.
I will say this, too, about this particular team. I wanted to bring this up when we were talking to Bob. I see a maturity level with this team because of the leadership.
I'd say I think Wilson helps.
Wilson helps that.
They've been so young on offense the last couple of years.
Yeah. And so he's kind of the voice on that side of the ball now. And I think everybody accepts him as the leader.
Yeah.
For example, he took the defensive captains out. He already takes the offense out every Thursday night. Last Wednesday,
the whole offense,
the whole offense, and pays for everything.
Yeah.
Picks up the check.
Yeah.
That'll get you some.
Those dudes can eat and put away some bottles of wine, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
Right, you know.
But on Wednesday of last week, going into a game against the Ravens, he took all the captains out to dinner.
Yeah.
So Watt, Hayward, Killebrew, and himself, and they just went out and they talked.
Yeah.
Just kind of having a pulse of the team kind of thing.
Which is a good pre-Ravens thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, Mike Tomlin has been more prominent in the locker room of late, just kind of walking through and getting a feel for the. I feel maturity in this team.
Yeah, they seem like they're in a good spot, a good blend of youth and Wilson, Hayward types too.
Yeah, and even like guys like Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who are some more of your leaders, Freiermuth. These guys are starting to grow into being that.
Yeah.
And they've been through a lot of these battles, and so they have a better understanding of it. They're not the wide-eyed first or second year guys anymore. Like, wow, I didn't expect that. No, they've been through so many of these battles now. They know what to expect in these games.
And it seems to me too that the rookies, especially Frazier, aren't goofs.
No, I mean Peyton Wilson's a serious dude.
They're real no-nonsense.
McCormick's a serious dude.
Right, they're not laughing and joking and goofing off and playing grab ass.
Yeah,
right.
And these guys
they're here for business and team.
And businesses. I mean, I talked to Frazier after the game last week. I said, "Did you have a welcome to the rivalry moment?" He's like, first of all, that was fun. I can't wait to do that again. Right? Yeah, that was really fun.
I like to fight people. Right? Yeah, let's get on the wrestling.
I said, did you have that welcome to the rivalry moment? He goes, "Oh yeah, it was when me and Humphrey went at it. Like I can't wait to do that again."
We get to play them again. Great. Forward that stuff.
Yeah, taking part in something like that. Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and that goes back to Omar in the front office and bringing
doing your homework
people.
on guys.
Right.
So, should be fun.
Yeah,
we'll be back on Friday to talk about it, but that's going to do it for our show today. So, for my partner Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here, running the Justin Miller hotline and making sure we stay on the air, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there on YouTube. Go ahead and leave us your comments there. Take it easy on Matt, please. We can rip me all you want, but
I don't mind one bit.
Yeah, well, okay.
You write for ESPN for 10 years. You think your skin gets real thick from a whole national.
I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.